Welcome to the Infuse Compassion Podcast, hosted by me, Amy Quisenberry.
And me, Mark Carpenter.
We are on a mission to make this world a kinder place for us all by bringing healthier human connection to communities, families, and organizations of all types and sizes.
Our goal is to create stronger relationships, more inspired teams, increased trust, and improved results.
So let's get started with more ways to infuse compassion into our world.
Hello, Compassionators, and welcome back to this episode of the Infuse Compassion Podcast. Amy and I are so glad to be here with you and have a chance to talk a little bit more about brain resets, about quieting the noise. We talked in our last episode with Eli and Kyle about solo retreats and about the reset that our brain often needs to get back on track and really connect with who we are. And we could go so many different directions with this. Amy, I just want to get your top of mind thoughts on what were some of the big things that stood out to you in our conversation with Kyle and Eli.
Well, first of all, they are just absolutely darling. I from the first second they joined, I was like, these two are absolutely a kick. But here's the thing, to go through such trauma that they speak of, and then I did not know them, that I just met them here, right? But then to see them on the other side and to see them shine so beautifully and brilliantly and authentically, it was just so beautiful. And here's the magic. They did what so many of us struggle to do. They invested in themselves, not in education, not in a new car, not over here. They went to go meet their soul in a solo retreat. Quiet, just me and you, baby. Nobody else. We can't hide behind anything. And just anybody who takes the time to just be in their space, no noise, no distraction, you can feel the layers start to soften, right? I've heard one person say to me, that's uncomfortable for me, right? I've heard people say that. I get it. But what if we get comfortable with being uncomfortable so that we can get to this place of quiet clarity through solitude?
And Eli and Kyle kind of hinted at that when we were talking, and I've read their book, and so I'll hold it up here again, The Art of the Solo Retreat. And so I know where they're coming from. And they talk in the book frequently about how it is going to be uncomfortable. Mm. So they just put that straight up front and say, it's going to be uncomfortable to start making those connections. They talk about separating from the noise. And we get so used to the noise that it's almost, it's a comfort for us to have the noise in the background. Mm-hmm. I just thought of this experience. I had a friend when I was in high school, and I was down at her house and talking to her. I can't remember, doing homework or something. And a train went by. And she was about a block and a half away from these train tracks. And it like literally was shaking the pictures on the wall. And I was like, how do you sleep at night? How do you even live here in this area? And she said, we don't even hear it anymore. Mm. It doesn't even bother us. Mm-hmm. But I thought, isn't the noise of our life like that sometimes? Mm-hmm. It's still a disruption, but it's so common and so frequent that we put it in the background. Mm-hmm. And as you were talking about investing in yourself, I just had this thought going back to the conversation with Kyle and Eli, where I ask about, how do you get past that sense of what this is self-indulgent? This is I'm self-indulging on this when I should be serving other people. Why am I spending all this time away on myself when I should be serving other people? And so it's the difference between investment and indulgence. If you're investing in yourself, it's not indulgence because you're actually going to come back and be able to serve other people better.
Right.
That's not indulgent. That's investment.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that really struck me because one of the things, when I created the Start with Compassion framework, it was out of desperation. I was in this massive depression. I was lost, broken, right? Left the corporate world, and it was actually going in my backyard in the quiet. And, like I said, I would drum, I would pray, the meditation, but I would journal. And that's one of the things they talked about. It's the power of writing down the words. That's so powerful. Not just, okay, I'm going to think about this, but I'm going to be intentional. I'm going to write this down. And I've always wondered, how did that framework come to me? How did that happen? And now I understand. It was in that they called it the default mode network, right? I'd never heard of such a thing. I'd never heard of such a thing, but that's it. I'm like, oh my goodness, I was able to tap into that through the quiet.
Yeah. And so for those of you that are hearing us say this default mode network and going, what in the world? Go back and listen to the last episode because Eli explains it in that episode. And he talks about how when we get into that more quiet time, when we get the noise away, it allows that default mode network to kick in. And that's where our creativity and self-awareness happens. And so I'd love to follow up on that a little bit more. Amy, you talked about being in your backyard and that's one of those places that triggered your default mode network. How do you tap into that default mode network without completely getting away and having complete solitude?
Yeah. Well, it was actually fascinating because when I heard him say, this is why you have the best ideas when you're in the shower, I never knew that. I was like, why is this? So I know we were talking, you said, I saw the look on your face, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, the other place is on my bike, my Peloton. So even though it's not quiet, I am so locked in and I'm not even hearing really what the instructor is saying. I am in a zone. I am 100. The same thing happens. I'm a street runner. I love running on the street. I don't want to be on a treadmill. I want to be out there. And I don't put earbuds in because I just feel safer without them. But I have my phone in my little pack when I'm running. But there's this point on the run and there's this point on the cycle where everything disappears and it's just me. And I actually keep a notepad on one of the cup holders on my book, a notepad and a pen, because some of my best ideas come to me then. So that's me. But what about you?
That's awesome. Well, I am in the shower person for ideas too. I think it was Kyle who was talking about some people will listen to podcasts while they're in the shower. And I'm like, ooh, that would just feel weird to me. It feels like I have somebody in the shower with me. But shower time is my thinking time. And that I do to kind of let myself go. I also find myself getting it at night. I am not a doom scroll before I go to sleep type of person with social media and stuff. I'll usually read a little bit before I go to sleep. But it's in those quiet hours in the night that I often have ideas come to me and I'll pop up and write them down. But also in the mountains. I live here in Utah, the Salt Lake City area. And when I go up hiking, same thing. I don't put earbuds in while I'm there. I just hike and being out in nature. When I walk here on the streets, that's when I listen to podcasts. That's when I catch up. But it doesn't feel the same. Even when I don't have my headphones on while I'm walking here in the city, it doesn't feel the same to me. I don't feel the disconnect that I feel when I'm in the mountains on a trail away from the city. But I'll also tell you, even on a smaller level, when the weather's right, not too hot, not too cold, I'll take my laptop computer and I'll work sitting on the back patio.
Nice.
I will set up on the patio furniture and work out there. And just being outside does something to free my brain a little bit and opens up some creativity. And so I think that's tapping a little bit into that default mode network as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I think when we can, well, and he talked about the change of location. I wonder if that shift does something for you,
I
right?
think you're right. I think that's what that is, that shift to the backyard is. It's just getting a different view. Like that's how I always say it to my wife. I just need a different view today.
Yeah.
So just go back in the backyard.
Yeah, fantastic. So now I want to ask you, what's like what kind of hit you in this, Mark?
Oh, so much. And a lot of it I'd already gotten by reading the book before, and I'd had some conversations with Eli before. But he talked about People Pleasers Anonymous.
Mm,
And it's like, oh, I'm in that club. I just am so in that club. And it does make it hard sometimes to step away
yeah.
and to really get that separation that you need to take care of yourself and to take the time to discover, to get the default mode network kicking in and to let yourself find yourself. Another comment that Kyle made was before he had his kind of transformative experience, and I'm not even going to try to relive that. People need to go back and listen to that if you didn't hear that episode. But he talked about my mode was always scar it and move forward.
Mm,
Oh, I can so relate to that.
yeah.
That there's been times, and you just bury stuff, but you bury stuff for a long time, and what happens to stuff that gets buried?
Yeah.
It doesn't die. It doesn't decompose.
Mm-mm.
It just festers underground and grows. And then at some point it comes out and you have to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, there's actually a lot of research about the diseases that surface in our bodies is actually unaddressed emotional wounds, right? And some people talk about I'm in the survival mode, right? Of just trying to scrape by. I'm barely getting by, and I just think it's such heaviness. And imagine if we had a dear friend standing right outside our window, knocking and saying, just let me in. I need to talk to you. Just let me in, please. I just need a little bit of time with you. When I hear the two of them talk, what I feel is this is our soul. This is our soul. This is our spirit. This is the most deepest piece of us that nobody else has access to but us, saying, please come home and spend time with me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so easy. We talked about this a little bit too, getting locked into that cycle of busyness and productivity that we get so focused on. My identity has to do with how much time I spend working.
Oh.
I think I've brought this up on previous episodes, but years ago, I decided that I was never going to tell people that I was busy. In fact, this happened to me just yesterday. Somebody said, so are you really busy? And I gave them my standard answer. My standard answer is, I am as busy as I choose to be. Because it is our choice. And if we load up ourselves on busyness as a badge of honor, to say, oh, look how busy I am. And I know people who do this. I know people who it almost sounds like they're bragging about how busy they are. Mm-hmm. And maybe doing it in an effort to get some sympathy or something. But it's this badge of busyness honor that they carry around them. And they don't realize the toll that carries on you over time. There also has to be a badge of honor of, I'm going to choose not to be busy in this situation. And Amy, you and I have had this conversation before, and I think I've seen some of your social media posts about this too, that whenever you say, no to something, you're saying yes to something else.
That's right.
And vice versa. Every time I say yes to something, I'm saying no to something else.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to be, and I need to work on this. This is me talking to me, that I need to be conscious about making those decisions of what I'm choosing to do and what I'm choosing not to do.
Yeah.
But it's being intentional about it so that it's not just this badge of busyness honor that can wear you out.
Yeah. And to say yes to us, like for you to say yes to you,
Yeah.
like to give ourselves permission to invest and spend some time on just us. One of the foundational principles, again, with the Start with Compassion framework, it's foundational is self-compassion. Without it, it's foundational, because you can't pour from an empty cup, period. Right? And so sometimes people, I talk to a lot of people who get frustrated with themselves. They feel like they've let the people around them down. And when I get curious and learn a little bit more, what I found is that it actually started because they did not give themselves the time and nourishment that they needed first, whatever that looks like. It looks different for everybody, right? But when we truly take, they say reset, right? And even a 5 minute is a micro reset, right? To have these resets, when we take the time to reset, wow, imagine how we can then show up in the world.
Yeah. And this didn't come up in our conversation, but I know it because I read the book. They have a little acronym with that word reset.
Yes, I saw that.
And so that I'm just going to encourage people to go to the show notes and get onto their website and follow up on that, or get their book and get into that reset acronym, because I thought it was really interesting how they use that as a way to just remember to reconnect with yourself, is what I'm hearing you saying there, Amy.
Yeah. What else, Mark?
Oh, there was just so much goodness that was going on there. But I don't want to just repeat what they said. I want people to go back and listen to them. But just if you're in that mode where it's like, yeah, I need a reset, but I don't have a week for a retreat. Well, okay, it doesn't always take a week, maybe 2 or 3 days. Oh, I don't have 2 or 3 days. I'd love our listeners to just think, what can you do to turn off the noise for a little while? I mean, even if it's not a full-on retreat. And if you're in a mode where you really do need some rebuilding, I'd encourage you to reach out to Eli and Kyle and find out what they have to offer, and see if you can carve out some time to do it. But at least look for some places to quiet the noise. Being intentional about, let's turn off the devices. Let's turn off the TV for a little while. Let's go to nature and reconnect, or just like we were talking about earlier, go someplace different and just disconnect from the noise. They talk about this in the book too. A lot of times the noise is an inner noise. And it's that inner noise of the obligation conversations. The phrase you mentioned, I wrote it down. I'm letting so many people down. I'm letting other people down. That's noise that's going on inside of us. What if we could quiet that noise for a little while and just say, okay, what do I need right now to connect with who I really am?
Yeah.
And who I want to become going forward from this too. Mm-hmm. So that's one of my takeaways too, is to just, let's find some places where we can turn down the noise for a while.
I love that. I think that's beautiful. I think another thing that I want to talk about, Mark, is there are a lot of people that are going through struggles, right? There's a lot. And one of the things that I heard in their story, one of them said it, divine intervention, right? Divine intervention. They said, we believe everything happens for a reason. That's another quote from them. I believe in divine interventions, and I believe everything happens for a reason. So I'm right there with them, right? But here's the point that I'm making. If you're in a struggle right now, what is the lesson that's trying to come through? right? What is the lesson? What is it that you're not seeing that's on the other side of the struggle, the doorway that you're supposed to walk through? Because that's what this solo retreat brought the both of them, right? Before there was a solo retreat, that's what the gift Kyle and his wife gave him. And then later, the gift Kyle gave Eli, right? And so, but we can sit in our struggle and feel lost and be frustrated and feel all these emotions. Or we can go get quiet and get curious and start to journal and figure out, okay, what am I not seeing? What am I not connecting with inside? Because the thing is, for Kyle to say, this transformation that he had of, I'm not going to go back and care for my community. I'm going to start caring for me. I can't imagine a person that was a part of their identity is now going to make this shift. And how big that shift must have been, right?
Yeah. And I want to emphasize with that example, especially that it's not about, okay, I'm going to set aside the needs of everybody else and just take care of myself. But it goes back to what you were saying about you've got to fill your own cup before you can help somebody else. I am really confident that Kyle did help rebuild the community after this fire they went through. In order to do that, he needed to reconnect with himself so that he could do that in an appropriate way without it being, I'm doing this out of obligation, or I'm doing this so that I can get the accolades maybe of somebody else, or that I can fulfill this I'm supposed to kind of feeling that's going on inside of my head. Yeah. But once he really reconnected with himself and his own identity, then he could serve the community in a much more useful way.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for that. Because, we suppress, right? When we're not in this zone where we're really getting curious about what we're going through, because life is hard, just walking the planet, one of my favorite sayings, sadly. Walking, just getting out of bed in the morning can be difficult sometimes, like terribly debilitating. And instead of pushing and shoving and ignoring and dismissing, open that box up. Yeah. Powerful, really.
And that's the way to open the door to healing. The other point that I would add here, we didn't really talk about this with Kyle and Eli, but it's come to my mind as we've been talking, particularly if you're in a leadership position in a business. Pay attention to other people and where they may be in situations where they may need a little quiet from the noise. I mean, I've worked in companies where it's like, yeah, okay, let's do a team activity, a team retreat. And we feel like that's kind of putting away the noise, but it's just a different kind of noise. Yeah. And even providing people with the space and the time that they need to get that separation. I remember one very small company that I worked for, our leader was really good about, we're not going to like map a bunch of paid time off. We're not going to have any big paid time off policy. When you need to step away, step away. Mm-hmm. And if you just need to like work half a day and take an afternoon off, just take that afternoon off. Yeah. Or whatever you need to do with it. And I remember there were times that I would take an afternoon off or just a couple hours off in an afternoon. Again, hit the mountains and just do a short hike. And it was so refreshing to do that without feeling like, oh, but my boss is going to think badly of me, or this is paid time off that I'm not going to spend with my family. I didn't have to worry about that because I had a leader who cared enough to say, I'm open to you taking care of yourself in the way you need to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Well, and it is very empowering and liberating when we do have that freedom to make the decisions for ourselves, right? To be able to do that. Yeah, I have this thought that I just have to mention on this topic. paid time off versus not paid time off. There are the voices out there that say, even though they have this policy, there's like a judgment sometimes or pressure of, oh, you're actually taking time off.
Ugh.
Right. And so I don't know what the right way. I guess the thing that I want to say is I love that at your company, that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. I mean, if you're going to have a policy like that, then make sure, leaders, that you create the culture that reinforce people to feel empowered to take advantage of the benefit that you're offering them.
Yeah, that's another area where I've seen people wear it as a badge of honor.
Oh,
You know, I've built up 45 days of PTO. I never take any time off because I work so hard. I would hear people say things like that and say, what is wrong with you? You've got a problem you need to fix, because that's not what it's there for.
yeah.
It's not there for you to build up as a badge of honor or to be used as a guilt trip by somebody else to say, well, yeah, you can take this off. Wink, wink.
Mm-hmm.
We really don't want you to. Yeah. So I love that you brought that up, because again, that from a leadership standpoint is recognize that's there not to just let people have time off, but it's there to help them be more productive. It's there to help them to be the better version of themselves, because we need that reset. We need that time to get to that default mode network and reset our systems so that we can be the best versions of ourselves.
You know, it's so funny because when you were talking just now about the reset, before we joined, I had like major technical issues, right? And I'm doing I'm clearing the cache, I'm rebooting. When our computers start to act up, when our phone starts to act up, what's the first thing we do?
Shut it off.
We shut it off. We reset it. We reboot. Well, hey, folks, how about we do the same? When we start acting up in ways that are not helpful for us or the people around us, maybe that's a sign that we need to, go be quiet.
Well, I'll go back to your example and clear the cache.
All
right. We're storing up so much in there, and we maybe have stored up a lot of anxiety or a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not just as simple as, oh, I'm gonna reset. I'm gonna take 5 deep breaths here. Sometimes you need to really get the garbage out of the system, and it takes a little time. And there's not necessarily this is the exact amount of time it takes for everything. You need to take the time that it takes for you to be able to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I know what you're thinking.
Then go ahead and say it.
I think that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Oh my goodness.
No, actually, I was thinking something a little different than that. What I was thinking was, this has been a really good conversation. I think it's over.
Yes. But I do want to say something that I wanted to say at the end of our episode with Eli and Kyle. And that is, I am so sorry to the both of you men that you had to go through what you went through. I can't imagine experiencing either of what you went through. And to be able to see you on the other side, I'm so glad you gave yourself the gift of quiet time and just really listened to your soul, because it was so powerful to hear your story, to meet you first and see how vibrant you both are, and then hear your stories. What an inspiration you both are. And I want to thank you so much for the incredible work that you're both doing. It is truly powerful and important, and thank you. So hopefully you're listening.
Well, now they have to listen. We're just telling them that they have to listen to this episode. And thanks to all of you compassionators who are listening now too. Thank you for taking the time to listen. And we hope we're providing value to you. We'd love any feedback. Any feedback you have for us, please leave it in the notes there on YouTube, or reach out to Amy or I. You can find us on social media, and we're happy to listen to your comments and your feedback, or even suggestions of other guests that we can have on. We want to do this. We're doing this for us, but we're also doing it for you. And we want to bring that to you and bring to you what's most valuable to you. So with that, I'll turn it to you for last words, Amy.
Oh, just everybody invest in yourself, like really, really invest in yourself. Time, quality, start with, even if you can just do 2 minutes of just you with you, and keep infusing compassion into the world, folks. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Infuse Compassion Podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, please share a review and like the podcast so other compassionators can join us. Until next time, let's all do something each day to infuse compassion into the world. For more information on our guests, see the show notes. For more information on Mark and Amy, go to infusecompassion.com.